In this episode of the Photo Nerds podcast, we talk about portrait photography on the side of a Welsh mountain, we get deep and meaningful talking about privacy, and we discuss the controversial topic of when can you call yourself a photographer. So welcome to this episode of the Photo Nerds podcast. It's just me and Gary today. Paul has got the nerve to go away on holiday with his family during the August summer holidays. So Gary and I have snuck off to the Welsh mountains. And as you can see, it is utterly beautiful, but the weather not particularly great. Although I love it when it's like this, mate. We've been here for about 2 hours, and Gary's gone off by himself because he's scared off some horses, and he thinks I was annoyed with him, but I wasn't really. So he just ran off because he was scared, I think. And then I've got to this little spot here. I thought this would be quite nice because we've got rocks all around us. But we've got a nice view for people watching to look at as well, so they don't just have to look at
my legs.
But Gary walked right past me. He didn't see me in this little cubby hole here, sheltered from the wind. Walked straight past me, so I thought, where have you gone? So I've gone out to have a look at where he was. Saw him walking up the hill, miles past where I was. Whistled, and it turns out I've got a really loud whistle because Gary turned like a sheep. Like a Welsh mountain sheep, and proceeded.
How exactly did they turn?
Like that.
Like that.
Quicker than you think he would be able to, but he turned and fell down the mountain, pretty much.
I had my foot stuck. He's so stuck in a rock.
So I just saw this little Welsh dot in the distance. So he must have been quite far away for Gary to be a dot, but
none taken.
He's just disappeared behind the grey rocks. So you all right, mate?
That could have ended in tears, couldn't it?
It could do, yeah.
Oh, geez.
I can't carry you down the mountain.
Well, the thing is, I've got a big backpack on my back, and when I spun round, despite having a bit of, weight on the front to counterbalance, clearly didn't help at all. I got my foot stuck, and over I went. And I had no idea. I couldn't even spin round, so I was just waiting for am I going to land on a jagged rock, or...
It was a slow motion thing as well. It didn't happen quickly.
Of all the times I've done this on my own, I've never had any issues. I come out with Adam for once, and all of a sudden he could have broke my back. I could have been getting airlifted from there.
What did you think it was?
No, it's just because I spun round. It just kept.
It was a good whistle. I'll give myself credit for that. Oh, God.
It's one of your superpowers. Whistling. Since when's that been a superpower? Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
And mine apparently is a Welsh sheep.
Yeah.
Superpower.
You turn quickly. Yeah, but you're all right.
So,
that was funny.
I suppose the topic of today's podcast is what?
Well, we were going to talk about shooting in the middle of the day in beautiful sunny conditions, weren't we? But maybe we should actually be talking about that's what happens in the mountains.
Scupping it a bit, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It was literally sunny half an hour ago, and then...
It was, yeah.
And then it's like this. So.
I've got a really good topic.
Have you? What's that?
Things that you leave behind when you go out vlogging. That's a good topic, do you not think?
Like what? Give us an example. I don't know what you're talking about, Gary.
Should we cut that out?
No.
Do you want to carry on with that?
Are you talking about?
That's quite interesting.
Tell them about it. Tell people.
Coming down in the van today, just driving down, having a chin wag as you do. Paul, all of a sudden, Adam. Oh God, no!
You ruined
how many
it.
times I did that?
You had one chance to tell that story.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's your fault when you're breaking my back. Oh God! So Adam, all of a sudden, is like this. Oh, what's wrong? He goes, I've left my walking boots at home. We were just having a conversation about climbing up this mountain. Bear in mind how muddy it is.
They're in the car at your studio.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Either way, didn't matter. We were an hour and a half into our journey at that point. It's raining, by the way. We're getting wet.
Yeah. Can we cover the camera? No.
It's not mine, I'm all right.
Well, it's just for not get water on the lens, that's all. I don't care about the camera. It's the 10 to 18 millimeter. It's a terrible lens. The water seeps in through all the gaps. I've got it wet loads of times though, but it's because it's so rubbish, right? And I've talked about this lens quite a lot now. I'm just winding people up now, but it's got so many holes in it that the water just seeps in so easily. But because of that, it evaporates out again just as easily.
Yeah, cool.
10 minutes by the radiator and you're done.
Oh, look at this. Right, okay. Well, it's quite cool, I suppose, really, because this is what we do, isn't it? We're out and about. People, I suppose, naturally assume. I mean, you guys are probably the same, but we're out and about in all sorts of weathers, and people just naturally assume that the weather's always fantastic when you're out and about, and of course it isn't. And we were panicking today, thinking that the weather was going to be too nice, with just nothing but blue skies. And well, it's the opposite. At the moment, it's fantastic. Look at that in the background. You can see that in the background. The drama in the sky in the background is just phenomenal. But of course, constant rain. It's just a nagging rain. It just gets all over your lenses.
What I like is, because it's coming from the direction of the view there, isn't it? So it's actually quite nice because you get to photograph it. You get to photograph the relationship between the rain and the mountain.
Yeah.
Before it's actually got to you. So you can get the benefit of the photograph before the rain's actually getting on your lens.
Yeah. Are your boots waterproof, by the way? Your new boots?
My new boots, yeah.
How much are you out of pocket?
They were 65 quid, mate. I'm not sure if they claim to be waterproof, but they just look like sort of material. My old ones that were sort of leather ones like yours, but it feels like my feet might be a bit wet.
What, in your waterproof boots?
Yeah. But they're a bit lighter though, because they're not made of leather, so they're a bit lighter. But maybe a summer boot. Oh no, wait, it is summer. Yeah.
I was thinking now we should have.
Middle of summer, isn't it?
Yeah, we should have done this in the summer, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
There'd have been none of this then. Imagine if we came here in August. There'd have been none of that, would it? That'll confuse people. What is it? 21st of August today,
Something
by the way?
like that. Smack bang in the middle of summer.
Yeah. So welcome to the summer here in the UK. If you're viewing this video from outside the UK, which will mean nothing if you're listening to it in a podcast.
Yeah. Did we have a topic today? It's been
shooting under really harsh lighting conditions.
We had a 2-hour journey this morning together, didn't we, or something? And then we discussed a few topics that we might talk about. We had a little cup of coffee, talked about some topics we might talk about. But then since then, quite a bit's happened, hasn't it? So
yeah, I fell over and nearly broke my back.
Yeah,
I called you Paul. I scared off some horses.
You did. I shot a dramatic mountain.
Was it a good shot?
I think so. Do you know what? It's one of those shots, right, where on the back of the camera, it just looks really average. But when you look at it now, I mean, if you look at that scene behind us now, there's so much detail in that cloud, isn't there? Even though a lot of it's quite soft, there's so many different tones of cloud. But when you take that raw file, or when you look at the raw file on the back of the camera, it looks quite flat. Particularly because I've got a picture profile set that's quite flat anyway, that I use for the video, and I just leave it when I'm taking stills. So there's not much contrast or saturation or anything in it. But then when you get it back into post-process, you can drag some filters in or use a radial filter or something. Adjust it, turn it to black and white potentially, and just bring all the drama that you can actually see now. You can bring that in, can't you? It's one of those types of shots that needs a decent bit of post-processing, I think, to make it work.
Yeah, no, I agree. The sky's pretty white, isn't it? It's just white, with very little detail. But the minute you start dropping a gradiated filter on it and reduce some of that light down in the sky and pull some of that detail back, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, it really, really does.
Because it's soft, isn't it? But there is, as you get the streaks of the rain, you can see like the different patterns in the cloud. Then the sort of relationship with the mountain as well, I really like as well. It's just something a bit different from the sort of classic wide vista, which I fully intend to get at the end of the day, to be fair. I found a nice little spot down at the bottom for something like that. But
yeah, I've got a couple of... That place I stopped at earlier on the second sty I found further across, I want to do a pano across there because it's absolutely fantastic. It sits so nice in the foreground relative to that mountain in the background. What's the name of that mountain?
Trifan.
Trifan.
Yeah.
And that's Llynogwyn Valley.
If you say so, yeah.
Apparently it's, I thought it was Ogwyn Valley, but the guy said to me it's Llynogwyn Valley.
Right.
This is real hardcore. I can see behind me, looking at the monitor in your camera, and there's even more rain coming in. So this is quite interesting.
This is what you get for thinking it's a good idea to do a podcast out and about, isn't it?
You know, when you're on the phone to each other, sat in your warm houses, thinking, "I've got a good idea. Let's sit in the mountain and just chat."
Do you remember yesterday when you said, like, come to my studio for 10 o'clock and we'll film a podcast and then we'll go.
And I
was like, no, let's just go film it out on the mountain somewhere. And then you said, oh no, we'll do it in a cafe. That was the second. We'll go and film it in a cafe where there's a real nice gallery. And then I was like, no, let's do it on the mountain. You might have been right.
This is great. I mean, people at home are now seeing the elements that we're in, and I can only add to it, can it?
I think so, yeah.
I think it'll add to it.
We've had quite a few requests from people who watch or listen to do one out and about. I guess if you're listening, it doesn't make much difference, does it? So if you're listening on the podcast, we apologise, but we are sat on the side of a mountain in Snowdonia right now.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, but should we remind people of the meetup, which is happening?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Friday the 13th of September, the three of us decided that we'd just have a bit of a get-together. It's more of a social evening, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like us giving something back or anything, but we're just doing it to be sociable. Sociable, I suppose, yeah. Really quite good.
Yeah, so all you need to do, if you want to come, is go to photonerds.co.uk. I'll just hit the link down below, probably is the easiest way to do it. And then just register your interest to come. It's first come, first serve. We've got about 100 places. We're about half full already, so you better get in there quick, and then come down for the evening. We'll probably talk for a little while, do a bit of Q&A, and then we'll have a chance to have a chat with everybody, sort of one-to-one or in little groups and stuff. So I think it'll just be a really good time, really, and good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to point out, teas and coffees are completely free all night, and it's only £350 a ticket. No, the tickets are free, by the way, so I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I don't know.
Because that's the important bit.
It is, yeah.
It's free.
Yeah, free.
Free.
Yeah.
Why did we decide on doing it for free?
I don't know.
Couldn't we have just made some money on this?
We could have done, but maybe we're not bright enough to do that. That's why we're sat in the rain on a Welsh mountain filming a podcast.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, we're just one camera.
A lot of podcasts I listen to, a lot of them are based in, quite a few American ones, are all based in California, in these like beautiful locations or in a studio or something. And we come out to this. But I like it. I love it, really.
Do you know I've got 3 jackets in the van? It's raining. I haven't got a jacket with me, just waterproof pants. Now that's a really clever idea. The van is about an hour's walk away, probably, isn't it? Thereabouts.
If you'd had your waterproof pants on, you might have not have as much of a deep cut on your leg as well from your fall.
Deep cut?
From the fall that you had.
My graze.
Do you know what we should talk about? I want to talk about, because I'd like to hear your sort of opinion on it as well, is particularly sort of suits this landscape particularly, is portrait photography. Because I think, didn't we talk a little bit last week, right, about shooting handheld, doing handheld landscapes?
Yep.
And I mean, unless you're in a studio in certain circumstances, almost all portrait photographs are handheld, aren't they? Especially sort of street photography, documentary type photography, wedding photography. It's all handheld, isn't it? So I was I'm just interested to hear your take on shooting a portrait. Like, do you do anything different to when you're doing a landscape photograph? Do you think there is a difference? Is it just because I think, like, if you're a good photographer, you're a good photographer. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can take a good portrait as much as you can take a good landscape shot. That's kind of my thought process.
You can, but when you say take a good portrait picture, it'll depend on the subject matter. So if you've just got a family or kids, then without stating the obvious, you have to be a people person. So no, but it is different. If you're doing it for art, for instance, then really your skill set is relaying to the model what you want to portray in your image. Get your light. That's a different skill set. So I suppose
beyond actually handling the camera, you mean?
Yeah, the handling of the camera and setting the studio up and, with your flash, and that's the easy part. Yeah. Well, if somebody walked into your studio and saw some lovely pictures of, kids smiling and nice families with big grins across their face, that doesn't just happen. People don't just walk into your studio and say, we want that and we want that, and they sit down and perform. You're not going to get 7-year-old kids to perform. Yeah, because
it's quite a stale environment, isn't it, at first? Like when you first walk into a studio with just sort of blank white or cream walls or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because kids meet me, people meet me, families meet me for the very first time, or obviously any of us, and you have to hit it off with them. You've got to get down to the kids' level and make them like you. And of course, it's not easy when you're a big lump like me.
Yeah.
an aging old fat fella.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But yeah, that's a different skill set. But artistically, that's a different ball game, isn't it? That's about vision. That's about selecting the right model, the right background.
Yeah.
What I always call curtains and carpets. Make sure everything matches in the scene. That's the secret.
The scene to the model, you mean?
Yeah. If you want to take, your classic black and white, grungy, almost like Indian face, wrinkled with a smoke in, then you don't want that on a pure high key white background. That needs to have a background that matches the subject matter, I suppose. And that's the art. That's a different kind of art form.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a very different kind. You could be bolshy, you could be arsey. If you're paying a model, sometimes you couldn't give a rat's ass about the model. I'm not saying me. What I'm saying is, if that was you, and you could be an obnoxious person, but if you get the point across to the artist, or to the model, should I say, and you get the point across to whoever builds your studio, or you build it yourself, then of course that's a different art form.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Because if you're doing landscape photography like this here behind us, nature has created the set, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all you need to do is turn up and compose your image properly and do it. But I guess if you're the lead photographer, and you're solely responsible for everything, then that set that you're shooting in, whether it be a hotel, a wedding, or your own studio, or you just even at home, you're responsible for that set, aren't you? The backdrop that is behind that subject, I suppose, aren't you? I remember, like, even in your house, I did when Isabella was born, my oldest daughter, I did a 365 project, where I took one picture every day of her. Yeah. And then I tried to do it with my second daughter as well, but I got to about day 273 and just gave up. But a big part of it was about where we'd moved to, because we'd lived in one place when Isabella was young, and then a second place for my second daughter. And the house we lived in was just the front room, where obviously we spent the majority of the time. The natural light was just terrible. Yeah. And we didn't own the house, so the walls there was like one black wall, there was one red wall. It was really weird. And the light, even when you turned the lights on or used a flash, the light just never looked good. So I was really unhappy with all of the shots. Yeah. And I'm obviously not going to set up a backdrop, a sort of artificial backdrop every single day, because I wanted it to be more natural, sort of documentary type moments. But it was really difficult to be creative. I think that's why I gave up in the end. But some houses, especially if you've got big windows and that kind of thing, you get just a lot of natural light, which just sets that kind of scene off.
It even depends which way your house is facing.
Yeah.
So if every morning you wake up and obviously you've got the sun bursting through the windows, then that's just fantastic. Window light photography. Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I like that idea, by the way. That was big at one time, wasn't it? That challenge, that 365-day challenge. I think that's brilliant. You couldn't do that with landscape photography, because the chances are you're just not going to be in a position where you can get out and about. Even if you were rich and didn't work, chances are that's just not going to happen. We're getting wet now. It's really raining. But I mean, if nobody knows what we're talking about there, that challenge 365, Google it and have a look at some examples on YouTube, because if you've got some new ones, some new kids on the way, it's a great challenge, and it's a fantastic way to document kids growing up. Yeah. Some people do it until the child's from newborn till like 3, and the difference is just amazing.
Do you know, it is, and it's
a time lapse, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fantastic. However, it's really quite difficult. Like I suppose it's called a challenge for a reason, because it is challenging, and it's actually quite difficult, particularly if you then try and make every shot a little bit different and try and add something artistic to it. So it's not just a snapshot of not just a snapshot every day of like head on with your kid. It's like trying to do different things. So I played around with loads of different ideas on mine. Like some were outdoors, some were indoors. Like there's some sort of high key shots, some sort of a bit more low key.
I wonder how well it would work if you almost set a very small studio up in your house with exactly the same lighting every day. Just simply sat your child down with the camera in exactly the same position every day, and just literally head and shoulders. You're just showing off now, aren't you? head and shoulder shot looking into the camera with the same smile and took the picture.
Yeah.
If you could do that every day over a 3-year period, that would still be a fascinating thing to look
Yeah,
at.
would it be? Have you seen those kind of age up time lapse things? Have you ever seen them? It's obviously computer generated, but you can take a photo of your kid or input a picture of you when you were young.
All right.
And then there's like apps on your phone now that ages it up.
I've seen that, yeah.
So you can put false age, and I guess it would look like that, but it would be real, wouldn't it? That would be quite fascinating.
You couldn't do that with me though, really. What am I going to look like in 30 years' time? Have you seen all those, all the Facebook pictures that have come around? I did that age then. This is me in 30 years' time from now, and it just shows a picture of a gravestone.
But it actually, when I was doing the 365, it actually became something that
My bag's open.
it became something that my family all followed along with as well, and
All right.
and my wife's family as well. And it was around the time when I was a bit more excited about Flickr. So every day I'd upload the picture to Flickr, which obviously was like pretty nice high resolution images on there, not just like some crappy thing on Instagram. So I posted the picture on Flickr every day on a private setting, shared it to my family, and then they just had a little comment on it every day. So it was like a really nice way for them to check in every day.
The world is a small place. Can you imagine if your parents, or if you lived the other side of the world, if you were opposites, poles apart?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how cool that would be every day?
Yeah.
I mean, my wife, and we've got family, her sister lives in Australia, and every Christmas you've literally got the kids opening their Christmas presents, and you've got mum, dad,
Just give that camera away.
and camera. Mum, dad and camera, and basically the camera is my wife on FaceTime.
Right.
So literally the whole family are watching the kids opening the presents.
Yeah.
And yet this is happening live, it's happening for free,
Yeah.
and it's the other side of the world. I mean, that's pretty damn good, Dan.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I suppose, I'm going to sound really old now, but kids growing up with that now, they don't know any different, do they? That's all they know. So to them, it's probably commonplace and it's not exciting anymore, possibly.
Yeah.
You know, so what? I could talk to some guy or a family member the other side of the world. So what?
Have you heard this? There's this really weird opinion around now that some people hold. And it's about, I can't remember the name of it, but some people that believe that you shouldn't have kids. And one of the things they believe in is that basically you have a right to choose. You should have a right to choose to come into existence, which is nonsense, I think. But a similar sort of attitude occurs towards about taking photographs of your children, and particularly sharing them online. Because say in future that child becomes an adult who decides that they don't want any of their pictures online, that child then is not in control of that and never had a choice, because his parents posted his whole life up to the point he was 16 years old and said, "Mum, will you stop posting pictures of me on Facebook?" And she was like, "Oh, why?" He's like, "Because I don't like it." There's some people around that think you shouldn't post pictures of your kids or share pictures of your kids online. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it's up to the parents to choose, isn't it? But
Well, yeah, it is, because it's, I suppose, yeah, I mean, they're in control of the child's upbringing, I suppose, until the child is of an adult age, 16, when they can make their own minds up. Yeah. I mean, I tell you what's really weird as well is when you see pop stars or old film stars that have been dead 20 or 30 years, and they're making videos, making adverts.
yeah,
So they appear in adverts in a very clever CGI way. They're making adverts, whether they're advertising cars or something. I'm just trying to get my head around a couple that I've seen just recently. But, you know, like Marilyn Monroe will appear, and you think to yourself, they're using Marilyn Monroe, and she might not have wanted that. Who's profiting from that?
yeah. They've done that with,
That's a weird thing, isn't it?
They've done that. They did that with Freddie Mercury as well, didn't they, during the Olympics?
Yeah.
Closing ceremony. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, but that's probably Queen, is a Queen performing there and showing Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was an old performance, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, but someone like Marilyn Monroe, I'm guessing there must be an estate that's in charge of, like Elvis, they're in charge of Elvis's estate. But now Elvis might appear in an advert for washing up liquid,
Yeah.
and he might not have wanted to do that in any way, shape or form when he was alive. So that's a strange one.
It is an interesting
That's
point
weird.
around privacy generally, though, isn't it? Because we're all being filmed so often these days. If you go into a town centre anywhere in the UK now,
Yeah.
you're pretty much on camera the
Yeah.
whole time. And and do you remember the Google Glasses thing or the Google
Yeah.
Glass? Like that's why people they didn't do very well in the end, because people were walking around filming everybody. People don't like it.
Right.
It's particularly a lot of British people don't like being filmed. Understandably so. But I think we're going to get to the point where, say, if you've got a contact lens or something that you put in that has a camera in it, and it's recording everything, but you'd never know, would you? You'd never know that you were being filmed by a particular person.
No, but
Are you bothered?
no, I'm really, really not bothered. Do
Yeah.
you know what I'd like? Now this is probably upset a lot of people. I'd like to be chipped, and I'd like seriously.
You're going to start getting lost.
No, every shop that you walk into, even when you walk past somebody else's phone, they've registered the fact I was there. If you imagine, if everybody in the UK had to do that by law, within 5 years, there wouldn't be a murder anymore. Because Big Brother, whoever Big Brother is, that's the question, really. The question is, who's Big Brother?
Yeah, who has control? I think that's the issue I have.
Yeah.
And having been in the police, the people that would probably be running some of this, I know there's some people that I used to work with who I don't want having that control.
Yeah.
Because they're nuts.
Yeah, no,
and they're nuts and they're horrible. And you wouldn't want them being in charge in any way of your life. So I think there's a balance to be had somewhere, isn't there, about...
But to me, that's the debate. I mean, because I'm here now. Now, my phone, none of us have got signal with our phone. But if I was chipped, my whereabouts is obviously being recorded by my phone. Now, instantly, my phone has now registered the fact that I've met you, probably tracked our route together. Now, if I'm found dead here in a week's time or a year's time or tomorrow morning, the fact is somebody could go back through the records and think, right, Adam was with him. They were both sat here together.
That's an absolute... We're already living it, aren't we? We've all submitted to it. Like Google, if they wanted to, 100% know that we've spent the day together today.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
Because if you've got Google Maps on your phone, it's tracking you.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. We're already living that life, I guess, aren't we?
Yeah, but that's not affecting
every
me.
time you use your credit card, every time you pay for something.
But that's not affecting either of us. But
No.
if two of us went up the hill and only one of us came down, now, okay.
Do you know why
I could push you off the edge.
Do you know why it doesn't affect us, though?
Why?
Because we're just two insignificant people sat on the side of Welsh Mountain. Why do Google care about us? They don't, do they?
They don't, but if two of us go up a mountain, only one of us comes down, then we're not so insignificant anymore.
No.
Then we're really important people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to need to know or want to know why we were up here together and why only one of us went back down.
Oh, right. Do you mean are you going to murder me or something? Is that what you're talking about? So you're not talking about an accident, are you?
Hey, I tell you what, you nearly killed me over there. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but I honestly don't have an issue with this. And I honestly feel that if you had a child that was hurt by somebody, you would feel the same as me.
Yeah, I'd want blood, definitely.
Yeah. You don't wish that on anybody, but these nasty things do happen. Now, surely, isn't it a good thing if we could all just have a little chip and then that would stop overnight?
I don't think so. I wouldn't want that.
Is this a bit too deep for our
it's-
podcast this week?
Maybe.
There's going to be some comments down below, isn't there? Shut that Welsh idiot up! No, but you hit the nail on the head, I think, because we're insignificant people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, everybody is an insignificant person.
Until they're not.
Until they're
Yeah,
not.
that's true. Yeah.
And in which case, why should you? I mean, it's not like we're film crews following us. It's just, I walk into a shop, when I walk through the beepers, it's registered the fact I'm there.
Yeah.
Well, nobody knows that. The biggest question for me is, I wouldn't want independent people to have access to my whereabouts. I would just want a government body to have access
I'm
to
not sure
my...
I trust government bodies, though.
Well-
Especially if it's like...
Yeah, but you've got to trust police. You were in the police. You've got to trust police.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna. This is for another podcast.
Yeah.
Why I left the police. No, but do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not saying this to start encouraging people to leave comments down below, because otherwise there'd be lots of nasty comments, won't there?
I don't think there's a wrong... But when it comes to privacy, though, and being filmed and all that kind of thing, there isn't really an incorrect answer, is there? Everyone kind of feels differently. Like, I don't think we agree particularly on that, but there isn't a wrong answer. You're entitled to your feelings about it as much as I am and as much as the next person is. It's not... but I think the issue I always find when it comes to anything like this, it does need to be talked about, doesn't it? You never come to any kind of solution. We're not here fighting, are we? Like, we're just having a chat about it.
We nearly were.
Yeah, well,
yeah. I also think it's a really good debate for two guys to talk about on a photography podcast as well. How on earth do we get to that?
I don't know. Cameras. It's cameras. Photography's at the centre of...
Fair point.
Of privacy, isn't it?
And I mentioned about having a film crew follow you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go then.
Yeah.
Well, we've got ourselves to blame.
Yeah.
I think we sidetracked ever so slightly on that one,
We
didn't
did a bit. It is, nerdy, I guess, isn't it?
Portraits. Do you like taking portraits?
I do, but I think I mentioned it on a previous podcast. My shutter count has just gone down loads. I don't have the camera in hand every day these days, whereas I used to. I used to never go out without my camera. Whereas I think it's probably actually since I've become professional, that's slowed down. So before, like, it was a complete hobby, and since I turned professional, that area that I'm operating in as a professional is landscapes. So I'm spending a lot of time either doing landscape photography or creating some tutorial or something, and doing filming to do much more video than I did before. And the hobby side of it is probably slowed down a bit. I'm doing less weddings than I did before. So, because I'm spending a lot of time trying to drum up business and make the business tick over, which as a professional photographer, as you know, the vast majority of that is not pressing the shutter button, is it?
No.
It's doing lots of other stuff. So marketing and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do love taking portraits. I mean, I've not done enough really for my kids recently. I don't know why. I should change that.
Do they still see their father?
They do, because I work from home. Thankfully.
Your wife don't listen to these podcasts, does she?
No. She doesn't watch anything I do. Did you know that? She doesn't watch anything. She doesn't watch anything. Oh.
All right, okay. Well, when it comes to portraits then, would you love to be a professional portrait photographer? Let's say, for instance, fashion.
No.
Really?
No, I wouldn't.
They can pay bucket loads of money.
Yeah, I know they can. I know. I'm not a massive fan of the fashion industry, for one. I've never have been. I think there's a lot of it is pretentious, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't love fashion anyway, never have done. And as it turns out now, the fashion industry is a massive driver of carbon emissions, and some of the damage that's been done to the world is all come from the fashion industry. So, no, for lots of different reasons. But on the other hand, I do then enjoy the photography of it. So when I see a really nice image in a magazine of a woman or a man or anything, just anyone that's had that professional fashion portrait done, I can appreciate that as a good bit of photography.
Sure.
Did you ever see America's Next Top Model?
Just thinking the same thing.
So that program, it was one of those shows that you think, this is terrible, but then you watch it and there's actually some quality in it after a while, more so than some of the other trash programs.
When it gets to the photo shoot.
Yeah, because they talk about the photo shoot and they talk about what the model, and you sort of discover this relationship between the model and the photographer, and the model's got to perform just as much as the photographer does, and it's down to the photographer, I guess, to get some of that out of the model. But like a landscape that you're photographing, if the model isn't any good, you can't make that work, really, can you? And it's not going to be great if the model isn't great.
It must be hard work as well, because sometimes the sets can be so big. You can have a stylist, a creative director. So now you've got a photographer that's got his own mindset on what he wants to achieve from the image. He's the one probably getting paid. And then you have a stylist that thinks, well, actually, I want this. Then you've got an artistic director or creator, and you think, wow, there's a lot of positives and negatives here. There's a lot of battling going on. So that's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it's very different, isn't it, to
Yeah.
landscape photography. It's even very different to like.
And they're all up their own asses.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's
Aren't
what
they?
I struggle with. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'm in the room now. I'm the important
Yeah.
photographer. Everybody stop what you're doing and listen to me.
Yeah,
that's how I feel it comes across.
There's a lot of ego and personality, isn't there? That I think I would struggle with, and I always knew I'd struggle with it, which is why I never. Like, I mean, having lived in London and been around London during the Fashion Week, it's difficult to. I find it difficult to understand how I would get on with some of those people, like working with them. Having said that, I'm sure there are some nice ones. I'm sure there's some great ones, but it's not me. I'm not into fashion. I rock up with a t-shirt with a hole in it, and.
But the thing is, when you get there, the easy part is setting your lights as per. We're raining. We're getting wet again. The easy part is setting your lights as per a light meter, getting the set looking nice. The hard part is portraying the story that you're getting paid to portray. Because like you say, you've got to then relay that to a model. If you listen on Podcast World, again, the heavens are opening up. I'm still sat here without a jacket on. And Adam now, sat there with his full waterproofs on, has now decided to put his hood up.
Yeah. It's more akin to like a film set, isn't it? Like with everyone in it working as a team in those different roles, like you say, the creative director, actual photographer, lighting, set design, all that kind of thing. It's not that dissimilar to filming a moving picture, is it? It's not.
Yeah.
The sets that they've got are huge, aren't they? And the amount of money that goes into these photo shoots, like it's no wonder. I mean, I guess the photographers deserve to get paid a lot of money, don't they? When that's kind of what's going on.
Do you know what always gets me though? They talk about the set. They talk about what the photographer needs to portray. Then the photographer walks in the room. The photographer that walks in the room is never you or me.
No.
It's never this guy that walks in the room that looks like me and dresses like me, fairly smart but casual, or you. It's always this, I got to be careful how I say this, but it's always a very outlandish, very artistic, very
Fashionable.
yeah. But do you understand what I mean?
Maybe that though is similar to what you said about doing a family portrait shoot. So they maybe have the skill to connect all those dots together with their personality, so they can relate to that person. They can relate to that person. They bring it all together. Then they rock up and shoot the image. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the skill. Maybe it goes beyond actually just pushing the shutter button, like you said it does with a family shoot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the sort of the portrait photography that I enjoy is kind of what I do at weddings, like that kind of, and what I do with my kids as well, like capturing those special little moments. That's what I love about doing portraits, and capturing someone's personality in a photograph. Do you know what I mean? When in so many different ways, it might be a shot where they're laughing together.
Sure.
And you capture that moment, or you get. One of my favourite bits at a wedding sometimes is it turns out they always turn out as quite nice portraits. Is when someone's having a great time, and you've sort of the people have got used to your presence, and then they just fling you a little look right down the lens, and you snap it at that moment. I think that so often creates some quite nice moments at a wedding.
Yeah.
Or just any portrait photography. Like I'll sit there trying to take a picture of my kids, and I'll just wait, and then they'll look, and I'll get it. Or another time they might look away, and I get it. And, there's so many different ways you can portray a moment just with shooting portraits. I think it's also a good way to start.
It's more candid though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's what I like when it comes to a portrait. That's sort of
It's candid.
Yeah.
So do you ever do any street? You never do any street photography?
Not really, no.
Have you tried it?
No. I mean, I've taken a shot on a street before, but
Yeah, that's it. That's street photography. Easy, isn't it?
Yeah. One thing I've always kind of would love to have done is I saw this project once. It was on Flickr, and I can't remember the name of the photographer that did it, but I thought it was a really nice idea. He called it a 50 in 50.
Right.
So he approached 50 strangers
people,
with a 50mm lens on at 1.8 or something, 1.4, and took 50 portraits.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice project. He got some really nice shots. Didn't use any flash. Just
head.
Yeah,
It's a head
sort of
picture,
headshot. Oh, yeah, top 3/4 or headshot, and just all natural light, but did get the model to hold a reflector.
Yeah.
Usually, it depended on the light, just like somewhere underneath usually.
Yeah.
Or if he had someone with him, he'd get them to hold a reflector, and it just got some really nice shots. And it was a really nice project. So I always quite fancied doing something like that, and just approaching people randomly.
But see, that's a timepiece. Not just because of the people you've captured.
Yeah.
Some of them are probably dead now. But not because of the people you've captured.
Yeah.
But even down to the clothes they're wearing, the jewellery they're wearing, the hairstyles, the beards, the moustaches.
Let's get that lens wipe again. It was like that guy in New York, the Humans of New York. Did you ever see that one?
No.
I think it was on Instagram he did it, or somewhere anyway, but it was online. But he became quite big. I haven't heard much from him recently, to be fair, but I'm sure he's still around. But he just approached strangers on the street of New York, got to know them a little bit, took a photo of them, and then posted it along with that story that he discovered about them. And it was a really interesting project. The thing was that he wasn't really a photographer at first.
Right.
I guess he became a photographer and became quite good at it as well, but he wasn't a photographer to start with. He was just taking a reasonable snapshot of that person, linked it with a story, and it became huge. And it was good, like it was really genuinely good. And he got a lot better at, I guess he became a photographer, like I said, but there's something to be said for that, like approaching someone, building up a bit of a rapport, and then asking to take their photo and getting permission, obviously, and getting that picture. I think that's just a really interesting project if you're interested in people, I guess.
Yeah, the amount of people that would have said no.
Oh, I'm sure,
away.
but that's
when you try and stop people.
He did this guy that did this 50 and 50 thing. He said that it is difficult, and a lot of people say no, and that's fine, isn't it? I just move on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It doesn't cost anything to ask somebody, excuse me, would you mind if I took your picture? And then, no. Fine, walk away, ask the next person.
Yeah.
I suppose just standing there, pointing the camera, and then physically taking the picture, and then, perhaps you're going to get challenged because of that. That's never a good thing, is it?
I think using a reflector is brilliant, though, isn't it? They're so cheap. Like 10 quid for a reflector off Amazon or whatever, and then play around. Just even if you take a lot of pictures of your kids, just do it using a reflector, and it's amazing what that'll do. Like
Do you know one of the best parts of a reflector that people never use?
the inside of it.
The inside, yeah.
Yeah.
If you take the reflection off, you end up with what's called a scrim on the inside,
Yeah.
and it's just a big diffuser.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you hold that up to window light,
Yeah.
for instance, or any kind of direct light, it'll give you a lovely diffused light.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's great, isn't it?
Really good.
Because I think a lot of them now are like 5-in-1, aren't they? They've got that. They've got the diffuser in the middle.
Yeah,
the
white,
silver one,
silver,
white, black,
gold.
Yeah, great. It's just great bit. I think that's my top tip for a cheap bit of gear that can transform an element of your photography.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A reflector.
a reflector. Yeah.
I wonder how many people are listening to us now, because the chances are people listening to us now have come to us through our YouTube channels because of landscape photography. I wonder how many people actually shoot other styles or types or genres of photography as well. How many people shoot
A lot of the clients
portraits?
that come on my workshops do a lot of different types of photography. It's not just landscape. But even if a reflector can transform a portrait, can't it? Like transform it. Especially, I mean, if you're not using flash and stuff, like it's good.
I don't use them too much. It's ever so strange. I only use them when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I do. And I just show people how useful they are. And like you say, for a tenner, how cool they are.
Yeah.
But I never actually use them. So like in weddings, if I do groom shots or bride shots against a window, we do lots of what we call window light photography. Now that's great for a scrim against a window if direct light is coming through and we haven't got access to another window. But more importantly, obviously to reflect a bit of light on the dark side.
A bit of fill.
A bit of fill light, it's absolutely fantastic. But I tend to do all that, but without a reflector, and leave it dark. I love the what I call split lighting.
Yeah.
I like the bright on the one side, dark on the other side. But the only reason why I like it is because everybody takes pictures of themselves now. And even if you own a nice camera and you shoot everything in automatic, the chances are when the light dims down, your flash will pop. And so, therefore, a simple portrait of somebody stood next to a window using window light at a 45-degree angle across their face, it instantly transforms a face
Yeah.
with that three-dimensional look with the
Yeah.
light. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, but most people never ever do it.
But
So a
there's-
little
there's-
simple technique like that.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for utilising shadows, isn't there, I guess? Like,
Yes.
I don't think it's any different in landscape photography. Like,
Yes.
I find that those sort of HDR images where people bring up the brightness of the ground and the shadows up higher than the actual sky.
Yeah.
And it always feels so natural to me, anyway. But
That's a bit weird.
yeah, so it's just.
I've got a question for you. How long is this going on for, by the way?
I think the battery's going to die soon. So
That's going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
No, because I got an interesting question.
can that
to
just be the
ask you.
end when the battery dies? That'll just be the end of the podcast.
Oh, should we?
So it could happen at any moment.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no matter where we are, right? We're not
Yeah.
going to replace the battery.
There'll be no finish. It'll just stop.
How much is left in it? Does it say?
It's flashing red.
Oh, it's flashing.
So-
Right, I got a question for you
Go on
then. At what point can you call yourself a photographer? Oh, this is going to be so annoying if it cuts off.
So I made a video the other week about it was basically snapshots versus photographs. That was
Yep.
the kind of theme of the piece. Basically, what I said, and a lot of people who got angry at that video didn't listen, because what I said is that there's obviously billions of images getting uploaded, and I think it detracts from the art of photography if we call all of that photography.
Yep.
At least I don't think it is. I think there's a difference between a snapshot and a photograph. But what I was saying is that difference is intent. So if you are a person holding an iPhone and you suddenly decide, for whatever reason, you want to start taking better pictures, so you start thinking a tiny little bit about your composition. You think, I want to make this a really nice picture. How can I make it a really nice picture? Shift your perspective a bit. If you're taking a picture of a kid, get down low to their level.
Yep, eye
Take a
level.
picture. So you're instantly thinking more about that snapshot. So therefore, I think at that point it becomes a photograph.
Yep.
I think if you then do that on a regular basis, you become a photographer. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like say I started doing a bit of martial arts not so long ago. I went about twice before I got quite badly injured again with my back. But for that time, I was a martial artist. I went twice. I was a martial artist because I did martial arts.
Because you were purposefully doing something.
Yeah, with intent.
With intent.
Doesn't mean I was very good at it, but I was still.
That's a real copper term, that, isn't it? You were doing that with intent.
Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't. I don't think it means. It doesn't mean quality, because you've got a range of quality in anything, haven't you? Like, I do a bit. Like, I don't know. I was a footballer for a time because I played football for my school or college or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like in the police. I was a footballer. Doesn't mean I was a good one. Doesn't mean I was a professional one either. But I was still a footballer.
But you were
I'm a
only,
rugby people.
but you were only a footballer when you were playing football. If you were in a pub and somebody said, you know,
Am I a footballer?
hi Adam, what do you do? I'm a
not,
footballer.
Yeah, I'm not a footballer now because I don't do it anymore.
But at what point, when somebody asks you in a pub, hi Adam, what do you do for a living? Oh, no, that's a different question.
Yeah, it's
what
not
do you do?
professional, is it?
Yeah, it's not official. No, I'm a photographer. That's the question. Because going back to what you said, anybody can hold a camera in a street and take photographs of people walking past, but that doesn't make you a street photographer.
But I also think like, if you decide that you are a photographer, I think that's fine. Like, so you come across a lot of angry photographers sometimes who get annoyed at people creating an Instagram account and calling themselves a photographer. I haven't got a problem with that. I genuinely haven't. Like, if you think you're a photographer, then I think you're a photographer too. It doesn't necessarily mean you're good at it,
Yeah.
but like, you be whatever you want to be. You know, I think because if you're saying that, I assume that you're trying to take good pictures and you have an intention to take good pictures. Therefore, in my mind, you're taking photographs. And if you do it regularly enough, I think you're a photographer. I don't think it's got anything to do with technical expertise. I don't think it's got anything to do with the camera or gear that you're using. I think you can be
It's just a figure of speech.
Yeah, I think, yes, to some extent. What do you think?
It's just...
Do you want the battery to go off?
Oh,
now?
yeah, go on, quick. I I agree with you and I disagree with you. If somebody wants to tell me that they're a photographer, I don't have a problem with it. They might be a professional photographer and taking pictures that I don't like. That doesn't mean to say that therefore, in my opinion, not a photographer. They are a photographer. So it's a difficult one. I suppose, Ray, you can call yourself a photographer when you reach a proficiency that you're happy with.
This is, do you know what it is, right? Because if you're, say you're a professional footballer, right?
Yeah.
You're Ronaldo.
Yeah.
You say you're a professional. You say you're a footballer. People know you're Ronaldo, so they understand very clearly the difference between you as Ronaldo and Dan, who plays Sunday League football with a few of his mates.
Yeah.
Because he's working in an office all week long.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Dan, fine. But everybody understands the difference between Dan and Ronaldo, don't
Yeah.
they? Doesn't need to be explained. Whereas with photography, that doesn't seem to be the case. Like I think there's a lot of cases now where you get some really, really good amateur photographers and some professionals that are maybe not that great, or you get some professionals that maybe don't get the respect they deserve because they've been doing it for so long and they've worked really hard. So it's a much more different thing, I guess, in terms of people understanding what it means a lot of the time. Because it's not saying you're a professional photographer. I guess anyone can say that, can't they? You start making a few quid doing photography and you can call yourself a professional photographer. Where it's a lot harder, I guess, to get paid to play football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird question.
The barrier to entry, I guess, is a lot lower for photography, isn't it?
Yes, a lot lower.
So I guess it's no different to business. If you started a business, which anyone can do, literally with a click of a few buttons now online, you can then call yourself an entrepreneur or a businessman, can't you? Even though you're absolutely terrible at it and your business lasts 4 weeks, you can put on Instagram that you're a founder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
Or even a director of a company, because you can register to be a director of a company.
I'm a director of a company, but I understand the difference between me and like Richard Branson or something. Do you know what I mean? Or anyone on the Dragon's Den. Like, we're not in the same league. like I'm a joke compared to what the sort of businesses that they've built. So it's just, I guess the barrier to entry, I guess, is a thing, isn't it? And I'm saying I'm happy with the barrier of entry being really low in photography, which I am. But I don't want the art of photography to become taken for granted or thought of as something lesser. I think there's a risk of that.
For you to be classified as a photographer, though, you have to be somebody that's capable of creating something with your camera over and above taking it out of a bag, pointing, shooting and pressing a button, because a monkey can do that.
So you're saying it does rely on skill then? You think skill is a factor?
Well, it has to be, because just because you own a camera, it doesn't make you a photographer. If I own a football, it doesn't make me a footballer. At the end of the day, I have to have a skill set to justify the fact that I am Ronaldo and not just Dan that plays Sunday League football.
Yeah.
Because we all have cameras. Every one of us has a camera on our phones. And, there's probably people out there that take hundreds more pictures every day than I do, simply because all they're doing is selfies and taking pictures of every meal that they eat. But that doesn't make them a photographer.
No, I agree with that.
It can't possibly do. Even if they say they are a photographer, at the end of the day, show me something you've created or made.
It's intent, though, isn't it? That's like
back to that word intent.
There's got to be some intention to do something different or something better. I don't necessarily think it's to do with skill, because there's no there isn't a body that suddenly decides, right, you are a photographer now. You're good enough now. You can call yourself a photographer.
No, but there's a skill with football. I could never call myself a footballer. I might be able to do 4 or 5 keepy-ups, and I might buy the most expensive football that I can buy. But that would never make me a footballer. Yeah. Ever. Would it?
I don't know. I think people should be able to call themselves whatever they want. Whether they get taken seriously or not, then, is another matter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a different side of the story.
Just as a little update on my new boots, they are definitely not waterproof. I can feel my feet are wet.
My ass is numb, and I've got to tell you, I'm a bit cold.
Yeah, that battery's lasting a long time.
God damn battery.
We've done about 55 minutes there anyway. Should we?
Wow.
Should we sign off before the battery dies?
Well, that's annoying, that is, because I wanted to be midway through a
Yeah,
conversation.
but through the magic of video, we can just cut it.
Oh yeah,
couldn't we?
yeah. Well, you say something and just like that.
Do you know what a funny comment we had the other day? It's someone accused us of accused us basically. It's where it's really interesting listening to three intelligent people have a conversation. I was thinking, like, what are you watching?
He's got us confused with somebody.
Is there another photo, nerds? Like,
Yeah.
someone nicked our name.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I think check that link down below for the Photo Nerds meetup.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know the strange thing is though? You commit to something. We were talking in the van today. Honestly, this is gospel. We've committed to it. We haven't got a clue. We haven't got a clue what we're doing. We were talking in the van on the way down, thinking, what are we going to do?
By the time people arrive,
it?
though, it will be a slick operation, won't it? Like professional, slick, dynamic, interesting. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so.
Yeah, it'll be a really good night. So that's Friday the 13th of September. It's completely free. If you want to come along, like I say, we're restricting it to 80 to 100 people. Tickets don't turn up on the night if you haven't got a ticket, but you can get a ticket for free just simply by registering and by clicking that link below.
Yep.
That's it.
Cool. I'm cold now. So
You're cold?
Yeah.
With all the clothes you've got on. Yeah. This is quite interesting, isn't it?
Let us know what you think of us doing it on location as well. Yeah, you look chilly though, mate.